Well, thank you, Wade. All right, Titans, go ahead, stand up, stretch, and help me welcome to the stage our next presenter. Get ready for some serious digital wisdom, ladies and gentlemen. Our next presenter is the moving industry's go-to expert for online domination. With a proven process through his agency, Mover Search Marketing, he'll make your phone ring with qualified leads. Before that, he was in your shoes as well with a moving company owner. He founded, grew, and sold San Diego's largest moving company. He's a widely published SEO expert and sought-after guest on marketing and moving podcasts, and a frequent speaker at industry events just like this. Here's to share how Grassroots CEO can help you crush the competition. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Mr. Bryan Bloom.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Is that a yes? Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Everyone got a stretch, and it's true, can't see anyone out there. First, I have a problem, and I need some help. You see, I got a dead body. And I'm trying to figure out the best place to hide this dead body. If you know the answer, yell it out. Yes, the second page of Google, little SEO humor. Why? Because nobody goes there. So it's the best place to hide a body. So today, we're going to explore how grassroots SEO can make you more money in your moving business. First, let's just ask, why do we do marketing in the first place? We're all here to talk about growing your moving company. And there's many forms of marketing. Some results in views, likes, followers, etc. But can we agree in the end, marketing only matters if it brings qualified moving customers to you that lead to sales, right? So you can do the things Wade talks about. If you don't get the sale, you can't regenerate and do a great job. Isn't that where the rubber meets the road? And as you're about to see, SEO is powerful marketing that, if done right, grows your moving company with ever-increasing sales. So it's a fact, every customer you move goes through 3 distinct phases in their moving journey. The journey can be long, starting months or even a year before the actual move takes place. First, they research areas to move to, the research phase. Next, they look for a home and research topics related to the move, the decision phase. Last, they're ready to make the actual move, the selection phase. When SEO is done right, you are covering all phases, and it's this journey that every moving customer takes that makes SEO so powerful in bringing qualified leads to you. So let's explore. During the 3 phases of this journey, they have questions. And in today's world, they go to one place for the answers. They search online. In the first 2 phases, they ask about living in a city, cost of living, crime rates, schools, neighborhoods, hooking up utilities, changing their address, and many more. In fact, our agency writes over 70 different topics just for the first 2 phases. If they haven't found a mover yet, they will search for one in the last phase, the selection phase. If you have superb SEO and are at the top of Google's page for these searches, then they land on your website or your local listing, and you get the lead and the chance to make the sale. And we have data that proves customers book moves during every single part of the journey. That's the power of SEO for movers. So who am I to talk to you about SEO for movers? Most of you know me by now, but just in case you don't, for college, I went to UC San Diego, economics and biochemistry, then went to Berkeley and got an MBA, but I've always been a serial entrepreneur. In 2002, I started a moving company from scratch. I know, crazy. Anyone here done that before? It was the end of the Yellow Pages era, and the internet was taking off. I learned SEO and ultimately dominated online. I became a Wheaton van line agent and grew to be the largest local mover in San Diego. We built a hauling fleet. We're a military mover, did international moving, office moves, commercial moves, white glove delivery, data center migrations, and of course, residential, local, and long distance. Fully integrated in summer and in winter, ultimately selling in 2014. I've literally been in your shoes. Today, I'm the founder of Mover Search Marketing. Everyone at our agency knows moving, and we exist to help quality movers like you achieve their dreams by growing their businesses through digital domination. So this is grassroots SEO today. So let's talk about your leads. They come from two sources, your Google business profile or your local search, and then on the right, the four various parts of your website, which we'll get into. And in the long run, both your listings and your website have to be strong. I don't have time to go into the details, but all of Google's patents, algorithms, and ranking factors require and expect this. In fact, they boost each other. Each of these sources targets a different part of the journey. And relating this to the buyer's journey, which we just went over, articles or blogs capture all the leads in the first two phases, the first two phases. So regardless of what you may have heard, no, SEO and blogs are not dead. Everything else captures leads in the final phase, the selection phase of the moving customer journey. So since I've spoken about what it takes to get to the first page in the past presentations, I'm skipping forward a few steps and we'll talk about a few other things. So if your website attains what is called topical authority, Google rewards you with SERP features. First of all, a SERP is a search engine result page. It's just the page you see. And a SERP feature is something special. And you may have heard of some of them, like featured snippets. People also ask, things to know, etc. And once again, this is beyond grassroots and more about domination, but these are attainable. So here's two quick examples, if you can see them. And the one on the left is what's called a featured snippet. So what happened there is Google's taken, you can see it's the top of the page. Oh, thanks for pulling in. And so someone here's on the buyer's journey. They're researching what's the richest place to live or the wealthiest neighborhoods in Atlanta. They're clearly thinking of moving, and someone we'd love to have to come to our website. So in this instance, it's a client of ours, Works Moving, who happens to be in Atlanta, got that featured snippet. And if you get the featured snippet, you notice that you get a bigger piece of real estate because it's featured. And that gets about 70% of the clicks, something we'd want to have. And on the, I guess what to you would be the right side, you've probably seen this as well. It's called a people also ask. So what Google does with this, someone searches something more generic like shoes. In this case, thanks for pulling it in, what they searched was downtown Columbus. Okay, so about 35,000 people a month search downtown Columbus. What the heck are they looking for? So Google's algorithms already know there's specific things. And one of the things that they might look for is downtown Columbus a good place to live? Hey, we know a mover that can move you into downtown Columbus. So if your SEO is done right, you can get yourself into this spot. And in this case, it's someone that everyone here knows, Tim Krupp, who happens to service Columbus. We were able to get him in there. So what you see is he's provided the answer, and there's a massive amount of traffic that comes to these things. So what I want to say with this is that these SERP features are something you may or may not have heard of, but they provide massive amount of traffic because Google's featuring you. And okay, great. Sorry. They're difficult to get, but you want them, and you can have thousands of them. Here's a statistic. You may or may not know this. 97% of all pages get zero traffic. This also means that 3% get all the traffic. And I'm a martial artist, so I like to pretend I'm Bruce Lee. Be the 3%. Think about that, right? Yes, SEO isn't easy, we get it. Most content just doesn't rank on the first page. It's not an easy business. Have any of you, we've all talked about before, Google's constantly changing. Google's constantly changing. When they're talking about that, one of the things they really mean is core algorithm updates. Has anyone here, raise your hand, I can kind of see if you've ever heard of the helpful content update. Anyone heard of it? I don't see any hands. Okay, it's one of the most important ones to come along, and it relates directly to the slide, and it works like this. Google is sick and tired of crappy content that's not helpful. So in the old days, you would just sit in the 97% and no one would ever go to it. But in today's world, it costs them a fortune to constantly index these pages. And think about using AI, which I'll get to in a sec, just for writing content that you want to rank. It's not helpful. It's just regurgitating what someone else did. So what the helpful content update says, if you have content on your website that no one goes to, not only will it sit in the 97%, they're going to penalize your entire website. You need to be looking at your website. There's tools to do it. If you have pages that do not get traffic, get it off of your website because it will actually hurt you. Moving services. One of the main lead sources that was in that one slide that's important to talk about. And let me ask this question. Raise your hand if you do more than just local residential. I see a lot of hands, right? Movers do a lot of different services. Well, many times these pages for these additional services get overlooked by SEO companies. And why would that be? Everyone knows about residential. Well, they don't have moving experience and they don't specialize in moving. So how would they even know? So let's talk about moving services. And I was so glad that last night that panel talked about all kinds of different services you can do, from data migration and you name it. And what you're looking at right here, hopefully you can read some of these. This is just 25 of the different services. I couldn't really fit more on this slide that we optimize for our clients. And about more than half of these are not residential, right? So you see things like warehousing and logistics, white glove delivery, that came up last night. Corporate relocations, office moving, commercial, you name it. There's a lot of services that movers provide, right? And you want to have a fully optimized page for each of these services. So besides increasing revenue, these services can lead to large, long-term contract clients. And as a side note, when it comes to local search, which we'll get to in a minute, not all of these services even trigger what's called a map pack. However, you can have your website show up for every one of these services and more. Like I said, we couldn't really fit any more on the slide. So, I mean, what would it mean to you, like the panel that talked last night about all the different services, what would it mean to you if you got the lead? Well, let's take a look at a sample. Of course, it's a client of ours. So Beacons AMS is a client of ours in the Bay Area. They're the largest Beacons agent in the system. And if you notice, if you can read it, and if you want to zoom in, I appreciate the top. The search was for Bay Area school movers, right? And they rank #1. And what they sent this to us, and then at the bottom, what you see, if you zoom in on the bottom, I love how you can do this, thank you, is a lot of you probably use call tracking, right? If you don't, you should think about it because you really can see what your ROI is. But in this sample, it's okay if you don't go all the way to the bottom. You can see that they landed on that page and then they made a phone call. So we know it came from the SEO. This, and if you zoom back out, thanks, Philip. This one call resulted in a $100,000 move. Okay? Not only that, but it was a small university in San Francisco, and guess what? They're now a long-term contract client, and they're constantly going to this school doing FF&E, storing things, etc. So what would it mean to you to have your phone ringing with qualified leads across all these different 25 services plus? I think it goes without saying. So you need to have a fully SEO optimized page for each service that you provide to show up in the results. And that's what a good SEO company should be able to do for you. Now on to another lead source section of your website, which brings, of course, massive leads. They're called location or city pages, and they're a vital part of grassroots SEO. Just like you want an SEO optimized page for each service you provide, you want an SEO optimized page for each area that you service. This means every town, every village, every borough, etc., in your metro service area. So for example, in Wade's instance, he serves the Tampa metro area. So he has, or would want, and has a page specifically for, say, Brandon, Florida, and then every single other area, because sometimes people are in Brandon, Florida and search for a mover, or they search Brandon, Florida movers, office movers, corporate relocations, etc. Right? Starting to make sense? So here's a couple of samples of how the results can look like, because they can look different with location pages. So the one on the left, if you want to zoom in, because apparently you can do that amazingly. And the search was for Sandy, Oregon movers, which is a city in the Portland metro. We have a client there called PDX Movers. And what happened there is not only did they show up first, but they got a featured snippet, right? So, sorry, they got a featured snippet. So remember that slide where we talked about how great featured snippets are? They show more real estate. Google features you. It's called position 0. You're actually above the first position. So if you do this really well, and that's not an ad, that's the result. So they showed up first for Sandy, Oregon, and there are ways to even get your phone number in there. That underlining wasn't us, that was Google. And so what happens is you can show up at the top for that. And the interesting thing about some cities is there's no map pack, right? We want to be in the map pack, but Google doesn't always show a map pack. So in this instance, having a location page was the only way to get that move. The next example, slightly different. So we have a client in Boston, Mass Bay Movers, and one of the cities they service is Georgetown, MA. Similarly, they showed up first. This page, however, did have a map pack. There's kind of a cutout there to show, moving down the page, but it was at the bottom of the page. So even if they would have had a location in Georgetown, MA, they still would have been better off with the location page. So these are just some different examples. Kind of summarizing with this, location pages always show up in the SERP, and the SERP just means the page that shows up. But map packs or local search don't always, even for local search terms, and you can have unlimited location pages. Let's go on to local search, which is an absolutely vital part of your SEO and lead sources. Local search, by the way, is sometimes thought of as your Google business profile or the map pack, right? And if you remember the buyer's journey, this source captures leads only at the end, at the selection phase, because it's only triggered with certain keywords. So let's talk a little bit more about local search, which is really important. You're just looking at a carousel of what a map pack looks like, in case some of you aren't super familiar, right? And of course, I threw in a couple of our clients in there. And one of the things also that can frustrate people is that Wade just talked about getting reviews, and he's 100% right. But the listing with the most amount of reviews isn't always the first one, right? Probably frustrates you sometimes. We have 1,000 reviews and this guy's got 20. It's a longer topic we can talk about later. But what I do want to talk about is getting verified. And I think, Allison, you're probably here from Works and you're familiar with this. And a lot of our clients are, that in the old days, you want to get a listing verified, just get a postcard, right? What is the only way to get verified today? Video. And now it's going to video with documentation. They want to see a lease. They want to see, right? Wade, we just went through this with 2 College. And they wanted to see a utility bill in the name of the company. Why is Google doing this all of a sudden? Why are they breaking our backs, right? Why are they doing that to us? Because they want to see that it's real, because there's so many fake ones out there. They're cleaning this crap up. So, and if you use common sense, think about it this way. Let's say we're in, I don't know, a metro like Phoenix, and Google has algorithms that can say the average mover has 1.8 listings, and all of a sudden you have 5. I don't know, does it take a really complicated algorithm to say that probably we need to inspect that one? So the point with this is that if you're opening phantom listings, and it is a strategy that can work, I'm not saying it can't, don't overdo it. You need to be very careful. It can be done, right? But be careful. And if your overall SEO strategy is weighted primarily on local search, you are exposed. Google can take you down in an instant, okay? And that would mean disaster. It's happening and it's going to happen more, and they've said so. By the way, last year, 12 million listings. You can Google everything I'm saying, by the way, and find, right? 12 million listings were algorithmically gone. And they said they're going to be doing more of it. And by the way, a competitor can think on you, and Google will decide if it's a real listing or not. And I think we've already covered this, but as a mover, what's the number one thing you can do to strengthen a listing? Really? Silence? Yes, reviews. Get reviews. It's the number one thing you can do, right? Is to get reviews. Okay? So let's move on to the strength of a listing, because now you've got a listing. Some are stronger than others, right? And like I said before, your Google listing gets strength from your website, and your website gets strength from your listing. They send signals to each other. Thank God Yelp doesn't count as much anymore. But the Google, right? Clap. I hated Yelp when I was a mover. Oh my God, when I would get a negative review, it would drive me insane. Anyway, leave Yelp out of it. We're talking the Google sphere. That's all that really matters anymore for domination like this. So you need both a strong listing and a website to dominate, and they work together. The stronger a listing, the larger the geographic area you can dominate in the map pack. Does that make sense? Okay, and to check your listing, there's a tool out there. It's called Local Falcon. There's a couple other ones, but it's a great way to see how strong we are. This is just a visual example from Local Falcon. It's a client we have. I think they're in Charlotte. And what it's showing is they're dominating in a 36 square mile area, number one in the map pack. So this is a result of properly optimizing the listing along with a very authoritative and strong website. Remember I said they work together. So if you achieve this, you're going to benefit with many more leads and sales, and then you can do all the other things people here are talking about. Now you've got the sale. Now you can make them a raving fan, because if you don't get the chance, it doesn't matter. I mean, what Larry did was amazing, right? It was before the internet. Couple of local search stats that we want to talk about. 29% of Google SERP, so once again, a SERP is just a page from a search, 29% have a map pack. But that also means that 71% don't, right? And even the pages that have a local search map pack on it, only 40% click on the map pack. And why would that be? Because it's just part of the page. You still have the paid ad and you still have the organic. Some of the good news, however, is that if you're not one of the top three, don't drive yourself crazy too much, because 36% of people go click into more business. So once again, to wrap up the local search, we're strongly suggesting you cannot rely only on local search, or you're missing out on more than half of all searches that result in moving customers, right? Remember the journey. So back to just the website. What can good SEO do for you over time? I'm a data guy. Even though I never went into biochemistry, I did a lot of science and I love numbers. And so let's look at a couple of numbers. This Wade's so nice, he always lets us use his website. So you're looking at some stats from Wade's website. And at the bottom, that graphic, you can see growth in keywords, right? Without growth in keywords, you're not going to get traffic. And the cool thing about this is that, and of course, everyone knows SEO takes time, right? Google doesn't trust you in a day. Do you trust someone in a day? It takes time. So over time, he's gone from about 800 keywords to 28,000 today. And to add more fun to this, the green are the SERP features. He has thousands. And so the keywords along with the SERP features, you can imagine. So if you zoom back out, sorry, SEMrush also estimates the value. So what they do is they take the keywords, they take the traffic, and they think if you didn't own it, but you were buying that traffic, what would it cost you? He's at the point where the value is $111,000 a month. the value of his SEO. Now, obviously, the value's more because he's making a lot more in revenue, but they're just saying if you had to buy that traffic, Wade, we're going to increase your bill. And then to the right of that, the result of it, once again, I love what everyone's talking about. You got to have an opportunity so that you can turn it into a sale. Over the last 2 years, he's had 624,000 new users in that buyer's journey visit his website. And think what those kinds of numbers would mean to you. So I love this topic as well. SEO builds the brand. So there's so much that we're all doing to get known, seen, and build the brand. And others are here to talk about specifically that topic, building the brand. Everyone wants to build the brand. Why? Well, when that happens, people just choose your moving company directly. You become associated in their mind as the mover. They don't even search. I think of it kind of like you're at a grocery store and someone goes to the soda aisle, I don't know which one I want, versus someone who walks in and goes, and they grab the Coke. That's the value of the brand. They didn't care what else was around. Same thing happens when you dominate digitally. You just become the de facto mover, right? And building the brand only comes from the website. Local search doesn't do it because it's at the end of the journey, okay? So I'm data-driven once again. So can we see numbers to show the building of the brand? Does it really do that besides just this kind of thinking it should with that kind of traffic? So I've got a couple of slides, and the one on the left, basically, and you don't have to zoom in, but thanks. Well, thank you for showing that. So that's the monthly search volume, and it's also saying that for Wade on his website, it's not only Wade, but Wade always lets us use his website. Today, he has 65 individual keywords that are brand keywords, meaning the word "to college" is in it. So it might be "to college," St. Petersburg, Tampa, or whatever. They're not even looking for a mover. They're literally just know his brand. And then on the right, what you're seeing is the growth. I think we're going from about starting 1,500 to now he's approaching 10,000. So this is showing you that over time, this is like a flywheel where so many people have visited the website, he's becoming the brand, right? And I want to stop for a minute and say that one of my absolute favorite, and I did it when I was a mover, non-digital marketing sources is postcards. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, they work. So if you haven't talked to US Home Listings, you might want to, because I'm telling you that postcards convert and they happen at the selection phase, right? So if someone hasn't selected a mover again, and the reason I want to mention it is there is a symbiosis between postcards and SEO. Think about it this way. If you've ever moved, you get like 8 postcards from different companies. I don't know, this one's prettier, and they have a lot of techniques to make a postcard stick out. But what if you have them all on your table and you go, I've heard of that company, to college. I've seen them, I've been on their website. So I'm a big fan of those, just thought I'd throw that in. I'm not gonna read this, but Wade kind of already talked about this, and this is what we see with our clients over time. Once you start to become seen everywhere, a lot of other good things happen. And you might be at the coffee shop and the guy's like, I've heard of you, I've been on your website because I've searched these things. A lot of the terms that movers show up for are the same things that real estate agents, that are one of our biggest competitors, write for terms like moving to a city. So this was just happened to be Wade kind of wrapping up how this has worked for him and how sometimes people actually come to him and want to work with him, or real estate agents refer him clients and things like that. And you know, I'm just going to move on, but it was a great testimonial. Now, we had a panel to talk about AI. They did an amazing job. That's not what I'm here to talk about. I want to talk about one specific part. Should you use AI to write content to rank? Even we use AI to automate things, but I'm talking about writing content. Like, who needs an SEO company? We'll just write our own stuff on AI and put it out there. I wonder if it's going to be in the 3% or the 97%. What do you think? Right? It's just regurgitating. So I'm going to tell you right now, if you're thinking of using AI to rank, I mean, you can use it. It's not going to rank. Google's algorithms catch it quick. And if you want to Google and do it later, not while I'm talking, can Google detect AI content? What do you think the answer is going to be? You think they want that to rank high? No, it's going to sit in the 97% and it's ultimately going to hurt you. And even our head of SEO, if Shannon Hayner, if you look her up, she has a top-selling book on Amazon about AI. It's something that we had to integrate in our company for the following reason. There is one way that we can hijack Google's AI, and you're looking at an example of it right now. So this is someone in the buyer's journey. I think they were searching for is it expensive to live in Nashville, Tennessee, and I think that's what it was. And we have a client there, 6-Man Movers. Now, 6-Man Movers got the featured snippet. Beautiful, right? They're the first answer. But Google, those bastards, put a generative AI search on top of it. And they're kind of experimenting with it. And it always says, this is experimental, because they don't know yet if they're going to stay with it. But their AI is just like every other AI. It just regurgitates. But what ended up happening, and what I'm pointing at in the blue, is that the place where they got the answer was from our client. So we got 2 bites at the apple. So we've trained our entire staff on how to do this, because for now, generative AI, forgive me, a lot of syllables, is here. And so you can hijack it and get 2 bites at the apple. And that's a great example of it. Backlinks. So backlinks are another really important part of grassroots SEO. What is a backlink anyway? Why do I care? Why do people keep talking about the dang backlinks? A backlink is just a vote of trust. That's really all it is. Okay, so it's a website linking back to yours. Okay? Now there are really great backlinks, okay backlinks, and toxic backlinks. A really amazing backlink is always a natural one. A great example is Wade has one from the University of Florida Medical School. They, without asking them, it's in Gainesville, and because Wade has a post that ranked really high for cost of living in Gainesville, they were looking, whoever was writing it has this guide for the future medical students, and they searched, right, who was ranking high, and they linked to it. That's about as high as quality backlink passes all of Google's checks. So there's natural, and then there's spammy. And I want to ask you this, and just think about this. Everyone here has a lot of common sense. The most trusted website on the internet is Wikipedia. I'm sure you've gone to Wikipedia. It's not necessarily beautiful or great, but you go to it because you trust it, and Google trusts it. How many backlinks do you think Wikipedia has? Anyone want to spit out an answer? Just guess. Someone say 1 billion? Pretty close. 10 billion. It's still pretty good. Saying 1 million would be a lot. But think about it this way. Wow, Wikipedia must have a big team that just reaches out and say, would you please link to me? Hey, I have some interesting guest post I want to put on your website to link to me, or we'll pay you. They don't do any of that. It's all natural. Why? Because it ranks #1 and it's trusted, so people link to it, and it makes this big flywheel. So just think about it for a sec. I kind of call it the chicken or the egg. Do you need backlinks to rank? Or can you get in the 3% and then people will naturally link to you? And I think you know what my answer is, because we do it all the time for our clients. It doesn't mean there aren't other ways to get backlinks, but if you think about Google's algorithm and they see you getting a backlink to a page that's in that 97% that sucks, they know you didn't get it naturally. So anyway, enough said there. There's a proper way to do it, and that's to write content that ranks. So one of the last things I want to talk about is paid ads. And I'm really here to talk about grassroots SEO, but I kind of think about it as digital domination. And a lot of people do paid ads. Why? Because they have an ROI. I'd say about 70% of our clients do both SEO and paid ads. But if you think about it, Two Men in a Truck has pretty good SEO. They do paid ads. They get ROI from it. So there's 3 main types that people would be familiar with. On the top left, you're seeing you can advertise in the map pack, right? I can't get in the map pack, but I'll just run an ad. Next to that is the second most common, Google Guaranteed, or LSA, and Wade even mentioned it, and other people might as well, and that's a great source of leads. Our data shows that it tends to be a more price-conscious, smaller move shopper, but they're leads and they convert. And then at the very bottom, the gold standard still today is pay per click. And some people love it and some hate it, but let me tell you, if it's done right, it has amazing ROI. And if you're gonna do paid ads, you wanna work with an agency that does both your SEO and the paid ads, because there's a lot of coordination between the two. But I'll give you a hint, one hint of a way to make a lot of money on pay per click. It isn't just, can you reduce my cost per click? Can you reduce my cost per lead? I mean, we get it, but is it about reducing your cost or about making more money? So if, you know, I'm from San Diego and we have areas like La Jolla, Del Mar, Rancho Santa Fe, you might have heard of it. And I was a mover there and I was doing paid ads. I put a heavy budget into those areas because if I got to move there, it could be a $15,000 local. 2 trucks, 8 guys, full pack out, unpack, they don't care, right? They want you to go slow and do the carpet prep and everything. They're not getting mad at the guys because why are you covering, you know, the elevator or whatever, right? So one of the tricks to how to do this is to, over time, once again, use data and figure out, and we have some clients who are really good at this, because we just provide the lead. They tell us, the ones that are converting, is where you're showing those ads. So doesn't it make sense? Wouldn't you rather pay $150 for a lead to an $8,000 local? Or do you want to save money and pay $30 for a lead for a 1-bedroom, $400 apartment move? So it's not that paid ads are good or bad, it's that you need to do it right. Oh, wait, I'm sorry, where is it? There's one more slide in here, it's really important, Philip. Did it get lost? It's right after this one. That's the last one? Well, my favorite slide isn't in there. So let me explain what you would have seen. We call it the trifecta. And the trifecta, so I had an example of a client that is in Austin, Texas. And I love horse racing, and the trifecta is the toughest bet to win. You sure the slide isn't in there? So imagine a slide where the search is moving companies in Austin, Texas. And the search result, what it showed is that at the very top, they had the ad. Right below that was a map pack, and they were first in the map pack. And as you went down into the search results, there it is. Okay, so this is it's okay. So the reason it's cut up is I just couldn't fit it all in one. But at the very top is, thanks for finding it, is their ad. And right below that, there is a map pack, and they're first in the map pack. And as you move down the SERP, they were in the top 3. So if you go to the right, and there were even beating 2 Men in a Truck. So I loved the guys that were up here last night. They're amazing, right? These big companies. You can beat them. Not all the time, but you can beat them, right? It happens. So I call this the trifecta because this is everything coming together. And if someone's searching with this term for a mover in Austin, Texas, it's pretty high chance they're going to get the click or the call. That's digital domination. Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy the rest of the conference. We do have a booth out here if you want to talk to us. That's a special email address and my direct phone number. If you want a copy of this presentation or you want to dig a little deeper or talk to us, we're here. Thank you so much. Enjoy the rest of the conference.
Big round of applause for Mr. Bryan Bloom.